Hello everybody, it's your girl Tanisha back again. Today I'm going to be showing you how to patch a hole in your canvas. I accidentally created a hole in my canvas while sanding it down, and it is a very small hole, but it's a hole nonetheless, and I'm going to be showing you how I'm going to fix that. So I got some raw canvas. You're going to need some raw canvas, some scissors, got scissors as well, some gesso. I'm using some cheap gesso. This is Marte gesso. So this is just some cheap gesso that I got from Walmart. And a paintbrush. So first things first, you're going to cut your canvas and make sure all your edges are rounded. As you can see that I did here, and I'll even round it a little bit more with you guys. This way it adheres better onto your canvas when you're adhering it to the back of your piece. So let's do that together. I'm going to flip my canvas over so I can adhere it to the back. Okay, time to find my hole. I think it's like somewhere over here. I think that's my hole. Not entirely certain. It's a very small hole that was created. And again, it's a hole nonetheless. So this is my hole back here, I'm pretty sure. I will double check. Yes, that's my hole. Okay, so first things first, you want to again make sure that your raw canvas, which is raw on both sides, is larger than the size of your hole. And it's very hard to tell where the hole is, but you can see somewhat the darkened color there. Let's see if I could get some light to help the situation. Does that help at all? Kinda. Now that is helping. Okay, so you see this discoloration here? That's where my hole is at. And because it is behind the stretcher bar, it's pretty difficult to see, but this clearly covers it. The raw canvas which I cut out clearly covers the entirety of it, right? So now I'm going to get a large paintbrush. So this is my large paintbrush here, and I'm going to open up my gesso. Weak, clearly. Alright, so the gesso is open. This is my first time using this gesso. Normally the gesso I use is from Liquitex, their basics or their artist professional. So because this is cheap gesso, I figured I could use it for this. So you're gonna just cover the hole with gesso. Make sure it's nice and saturated, but also make sure it's not lumpy. You want it smooth. So I'm just smoothing it out. Nice and smooth. You see the hole is nicely covered now. Now the next thing you're going to do is use that same gesso and your brush to make a sticker. So I'm putting gesso onto the raw canvas. Make sure there aren't any loose threads like this loose thread here. Let's focus this out. Let me focus for you guys. Perfect. Okay, or at least better. So I'm just gessoing this canvas and making sure it's nicely saturated. And there you go. Okay. So as you can see, it's nicely saturated. Your hands are gonna get a little messy in this process. Just wash them afterwards when you're done. So I want this to be so saturated that you could feel it coming through on both sides. You could feel the gesso coming through on both sides. So it becomes very sticky. That's exactly what we want. So I would say this is nicely saturated. And again, make sure this side is nicely saturated. Just focusing the camera for you guys. Yeah, so make sure this is also nicely saturated, but also smooth. You don't want it to be lumpy. Okay, and then just stick it on. And make sure it's nicely covering your hole. Next, you're just going to make sure the other side of your raw canvas is also covered in gesso. So I'm just painting this side now with gesso. Okay. And again, you want it to be nicely saturated. But also smooth. And get the outer perimeter so it's completely adhered. Okay. Once you feel like you have covered the entire raw canvas with gesso and it's nicely saturated and it's smooth and there aren't any parts lifting, everything is painted down, you're going to flip your canvas over and let it dry. And the following day, so 24 hours later, you're going to apply another layer of gesso. So I'm going to flip my canvas over and see what the front looks like. And if the front is all good, then tomorrow I will start recording again and capture me putting on another layer of gesso. At the front, because our patch was so generous with gesso, we have some gesso spilling through, which is completely fine. I'm out here using my finger, which I shouldn't be. I'm going to use a brush like a professional and cover it. Okay. So I'm actually just going to leave this to dry, and tomorrow I'm going to put a proper layer on it. Alright, so it is the following day, and the gesso is dry, and I'm going to do another layer of gesso, both at the back and the front. I'm contemplating whether to do gesso at the front. This is the hole, by the way. I'm contemplating whether to do the gesso at the front really thick and then sand it down so it's like super smooth, but we shall see. Let's flip it over for now. Okay. So you and I both can see this sticker. Just clearing up the zoom for you. I'm going to do another layer of gesso. So it is really adhered onto there. Get my nice big brush. I'm using a big brush. See this big brush? And I'm just going to do another layer of gesso like that. And make sure it's smooth, no clumps, no lumps. I want it to be smooth. We got a nice, clean, smooth layer at the back here. Now let's go to the front. Okay, so this is the hole right here. And of course the back is nicely gessoed. So it's sealed onto there for good, for life. Know what I mean? So remember earlier I was saying I'm contemplating to do like a thick layer. So that's my thick layer there. Nice, nice and thick, nice and smooth. Okay, now I'm going to use a completely dry brush. Another large dry brush, has absolutely nothing on it. And I'm just going to remove the excess, and I'm going to avoid the area that has the hole. So I want to keep the area with the hole nice and thick so the hole is completely covered, right? And to smooth that area out now, I'm just going to use a very gentle, very light pressure, feather-like pressure, okay? So that way I don't remove the gesso over the hole that is leveling it out. Okay, so I'm going very lightly, feather-like motion again, until it's completely smooth. Okay, so right now the hole is indistinguishable. I personally cannot tell where it is. I think this is it here. So again, just going very light. And I think I might leave it like that and then probably just sand it. Let's see if it's as clear as it can be. Yeah, so super clear now. You can see it's a little bit beveled, right? So it's a little bit thicker. That way, once I sand it, it will be the same level as the rest of the canvas. So it'll be nice and smooth. And that's that, folks. That's that. I'll see you in 24 hours. So quick update. It seems like the gesso has already dried. And once it dried, it became less thick, which I obviously did not anticipate to happen. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna add another layer of gesso. Using a small brush and using my big brush, again just going gently over it and removing any excess, wiping out my brush so I don't reapply gesso onto my canvas. I just remove it. Okay. The only time I'm putting pressure on my brush is when I'm not over top the hole. So if I'm adjacent to it, beside it, whatever, then I'll put pressure, but if I'm going over top of it, I'm doing a very feather-like motion, very light. Okay, so we have another layer on there. I'm gonna let this dry, and if the same thing happens, then I'm going to just add some more gesso and repeat until it's thick, even when dry, and then I'll sand it down to the right surface, or yeah, I'll sand it down to it's leveled with the rest of the canvas surface. Okay, so I'm gonna let that dry and we'll see what it looks like in a little bit. Okay, so the gesso dried, and unfortunately, just like before, it didn't retain its thickness. I don't know if that's because I'm using a cheaper gesso, like I stated before, so I'm going to try something new. I'm going to use the Liquitex Professional Gesso, the one that I said I bought, and see if that helps. I don't know. I'm gonna give it a go. I don't usually have to deal with broken canvases, so this is all pretty new to me too. Alright, just doing a nice simple coat, again with my small brush. Okay, so that's good. Now I'm going to smooth it out. The feather-like motion again. remove as much excess as I can. So that way I have less to sand. And mind you, the drying time in between these are like 10 minutes apart. I don't know, it's a very short duration. So I'm gonna leave it like this, let it dry, see what it looks like. If it's still nice and beveled, I'll sand it down so it is the same level as the rest of the canvas. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so the gesso is dry, and it turns out it kept losing its depth because the gesso I was initially using was the cheap Marte gesso. This professional gesso by Liquitex did not lose its shape. It stayed nice and thick. So I'm about to sand it. First things first, I'm going to show you what materials you're going to need to sand. So you're going to need a mask. I've got 2 masks that I'm going to put on just to be extra safe and careful. You don't want to inhale anything. You're going to need some sandpaper. I'm using the 220 grit. You can tell because it says P220. And you're going to need a glove so you don't sand away your fingers or your skin. At least I don't like that feeling personally, so I'm wearing gloves. So I'm just going to put on my mask. This way I don't inhale anything. Put on my glove. I'm all gloved up. And now I'm ready to sand. So I'm just going to sand this until it is smooth. Oh. It's getting smooth, folks. Nice. So it's like perfectly smooth right now, but I'm gonna just sand it a bit more. That is literally perfection. The hole is gone. It's gone, baby. It's gone. Yeah, that's like perfect. So, yeah, that's how you do it. That is how you get rid of a hole, ladies and gentlemen. The professional way. I just wanted to show you guys what covering up this hole would look like with some oil paint. So I'm going to be doing exactly that for you. I'm just going to cover it up with the white oil paint that I always intended to cover it with. Just to show you how seamless it is. As you can see, the hole is completely gone. So I'm going to let this dry and then do a couple of layers of white. So this background here that I was covering is gone, and then I can paint over it. But yeah, I hope you guys found this helpful, and yeah, I hope you have a great day. If you like this video, please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell button. Bye. Thank you for watching.